All right, so let's fast forward a couple years in their career to their biggest album, Kick. I believe it sold about 6 million copies in the U.S. and maybe close to 10 worldwide. I picked for this album the song, the title track, Kick, which was not a single, doesn't have a music video, but I think it sort of applies just really to Pokemon in general. So it has this sort of, when you come into it, this very long sort of fade where some sort of synth instrument is coming in, and you hear Michael saying, sometimes you kick, sometimes you get kicked. And and then it goes into this bombastic piece that has, Kirk Pengilly on the saxophone, of course, and some of the other stuff. And they're sort of talking about, things that can come up in life and how you just kind of got to keep pressing forward and doing things like that. And what did you think of this song, first of all, in terms of instrumentation?
I love the opening. It's just so fun. Like, coming in all like, the voices and then, like, just pa 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 pa. No, I like this song a lot. And, yeah, it's very, kind of got a nice, aggressive vibe to it very different from the last one you picked.
No, they have a pretty good range within the band.
Yeah.
I mean, even within the Kick album, if you compare this to a lot of their songs, even though there are common threads that go through all the songs on that album, in terms of style, they all do pretty much feel distinct. Were there any lyrics that particularly stood out for you with that one?
Let me think. I don't know if it's really especially Pokemon inspiring, but like, I did kind of just love that, like, make peace with your flesh and blood, make peace with your love sort of thing. And in the end, this is truth. But I kind of felt a callback to Pokemon, like, during, like, the when my back is broken, when the mountain moves away, like, the dreams and the promises. It kind of brought me back to, again, it's back that making my way any way that I can song. Very different, obviously, musically, but I kind of felt that it was kind of channeling a similar vein in that sense.
I definitely agree with you there. I mean, yeah, there's not much here that sort of like locks on to Pokemon the way you might like. It is, I don't want to say fluff. It's still a very good song. I mean, you can apply this to virtually any competitive scenario in life. And,
yeah.
Which, actually, the other thing I would like to see, I don't know if there's an Australian equivalent of this, but in the United States, of course, we have this long-running show called America's Funniest Home Videos. And they do, like, every episode they would do a music montage. And this song wasn't probably famous enough. But, I could totally see this song being used in one of those with, like, a lot of comedic footage of, like, kids in martial arts class accidents and things like that. Which I know is kind of a silly use of this song. But I did kind of want to point out that might also be another place you could wind up using it. I like I said, there's actually a decent number of songs on. Kick is my favorite INXS album. Let's be plain there. Probably, like I said, because I listened to a lot of it. They played a lot of it at the roller rink when I would do the skating there when I was in daycare. There is another song on that album you might have expected us to pick. It works as a Pokemon song, but kind of for the wrong reasons. And I'll leave you to listen to the album. There's one song with a hard swear on it, but other than that, it's mostly nothing beyond PG. And see if you can figure out which song that is. Had I had wanted to pick something a little bit deeper, there is a B-side from that era called Move On, which has a couple different versions of it. And I think that would also have made a very good Pokemon song. So if there had been a Pokemon movie in 1988, I think we might have seen that one there. That's another one to check out if you like the sound from that album.
This one, I think, would be really fun to do like an AMV.
I would say yes.
About a battle, like you just Pokemon
this
battle montage.
This would be great for like an opening title theme, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you'd want to have it in the animation in such a way that it choreographs around some of the dynamics in there. But I think this would be great for like the opening to either the show or to a movie or something like that in some sort of battle theme like that. If you wanted something like maybe resplice this in the first movie opening sequence. There aren't very many really kick attacks in there, but you kind of get the idea. But I think, like I said, if there was a Pokemon movie in 1988, the label might have asked them if they wanted to use it there. I mean, INXS does have songs that are associated with a number of other more older focused movies. They have a song on the soundtrack to Pretty in Pink. One of their songs from the album Elegantly Wasted, just before Michael died, is used in the Nicolas Cage John Travolta movie Face Off, from what I remember. So that they do have some experience in that area. But I think from here we're going to sort of fast forward almost 20 years from 87 all the way to 2005 to Rockstar INXS. I don't know exactly when this song was written. Sometime after Michael died, and sometime up through 2005. And this song is called Us, which is on the Switch album, which is the one with J.D. Fortune doing vocals. And INXS does one of these songs pretty much on every one of their albums, one of these togetherness songs. On Elegantly Wasted, it was Everything. On Kick, it's Calling All Nations. And on Listen Like Thieves, it's Shine Like It Does. So they do one of these songs pretty much every album. They do some variety of this. And what I associate this song with in Pokemon, certainly encourage you to listen to it, is Pokemon 2000. And sort of the reason I said that, if you listen to it, it says the world is always changing, you can see it every day, but in a tragic situation, you can't just hide yourself away. And as I thought more and more about this song, I thought, I can kind of see that sort of lining up with the plot events in the movie. And, we have obviously a tragic situation, nature's being thrown completely out of balance. And for the hide yourself away, I always remember that shot of sort of when Zapdos appears, where Ash is sort of peeking out from behind the boat, and sort of tie that in there. But that's sort of the togetherness song for Switch. It doesn't have a video, like I said, and it just sort of goes on, and I feel like it just sort of fits the movie just really well. Like I said, I have no evidence whatsoever to say that this was something they had. Like, I don't know, I doubt they were actually like Andrew Ferris, who wrote most of the stuff after Michael died, was asked, and then this is just lying, or this was just something he had lying around or anything like that. No evidence to that whatsoever. As far as I know, this has nothing to do with anything. But it really does fit, and it sort of ties into sort of Ash's role, because it sort of says, yeah, I'm an important part of this, but don't leave it to me. Nothing's for free. It comes down to us. Which sort of describes, in a better way than some of the marketing for the movie, sort of the duality that I'm an important person here, but I can't do this alone. Is that sort of the vibe you got there?
I really see your point. I actually was getting kind of a Brother, My Brother First movie vibe, but yeah, no, as you're explaining it, I really see a lot of Pokemon 2000 in these lyrics. It's wonderful. You're right, better than some of the marketing. It kind of explains what's going on there.
So who knows, maybe in some alternate universe they might have written this up. But the other part I think that fits kind of very well with the second movie, and I guess maybe some of the other ones as well, is that during the chorus it says, we're not indestructible, or some kind of miracle happens every day. And it sort of gives the impression that sort of this world we live in only continues to exist because we work together to make sure that it does. And it could fall apart very easily if we collectively decided it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. And how, those kids could have died in that movie. Some of them almost did. How precious life is. Every single day is a miracle. Yeah.
What do you think of the instrumentation of that song? It's obviously one of their later works. It's basically one of the, they haven't really done much original since. What do you think of it?
Well, I did only listen to it the one or two times, so, my memories are not very solid yet, but it's so beautiful and very, very touching and very lovely. Yeah, it's just moving. Maybe part of that's the lyrics, but the music supports what they're trying to say very well, I think.
One thing I did want to say about this song, if you look at the Switch album, it has, I believe, 13 tracks. And this is the next to last track on it. The last track is a track called God's Top 10, which is a tribute to Michael Hutchence. And while I do agree that it's very important for them to have sort of some send-off piece in this album where they were getting a new lead singer, and they needed to do something for him. Part of me kind of wishes that Us had sort of been the last song on the album rather than God's Top 10. I'm sure, Anne, you didn't listen to that particular song, but I kind of felt this might have been a better song to end on, to sort of have sort of the tribute to Michael Hutchence, and then have this song to say how we're sort of coming together to sort of help everyone move forward and progress with life, knowing that things like what happened are part of life.
Well, definitely, like, if they hadn't have had, these, the personal band issues, I think on any album, a song like this feels like it deserves to be the last word. So I think you're onto something there.
Like I said, it was just kind of the way I feel with it. Because this was still at the time when I got this album where I didn't have an iPod or anything like that. So, of course, when you had CD in it, would just loop back to the start. And it plays this song called, the first track on the album is called The Devil's Party. The one a lot of you would remember from the Switch album is Pretty Vegas, which, I guess on a lighter note, I did write a parody of called Skitty Vegas, which is a song about Pokemon centers and Pokemarts. There's some kind of interesting stuff in there. I've parodied a lot of INXS stuff over the years. I am definitely a super fan. I even made like a entire INXS fictional Pokemon TCG set back in the Gen 3 era. So that's how devoted I was.
This is amazing.
But as far as this song goes, yeah, I think this would have been a great addition had it been available, which there's no evidence on my part that I know of to say it was. I really doubt it. I know that some of the songs on the album were written a few years prior to the actual reality show. Like I know Hungry, which also kind of works as a Pokemon song. I could go on for another hour on INXS songs. I think kind of sort of work as a Pokemon song.
That's probably why we picked these two bands, is because so many of their songs do remind us of Pokemon or could.
Yeah, it's always that interesting thing, if Perfume had gotten up to speed earlier, or if Michael Hutchence hadn't died and INXS had been able to continue, who knows what we might have seen. I mean,
yeah. I
like to bring up the INXS thing just because it's interesting to draw parallels, because logically they should have nothing to do with each other. And I think there is a little bit of parallelism even between these two bands, really. I think there's a lot of determination and willingness to keep going, even when some other folks would have given up. I mean, there were a lot of folks that after Michael died would have said, okay, pack your stuff up, maybe do writing or producing or stuff, but you'll never be a band again. And INXS, despite the hurdles in front of them, it took them a while. They had a lot to sort through after that, but they eventually kept going, and eventually, unfortunately, ran into other stuff. And then Perfume, like you said, they had a very long period of time where they weren't making a lot of traction, but they kept going at it, and eventually it paid off.
Yeah, like the story you're telling about INXS, like it's very inspiring, like that, it was important to them not just to make music, but to make music with each other as much as they could. Because they also could have found other people to make a band with. And that was worth pursuing, even though, maybe the fans wouldn't agree, or maybe, they wouldn't think this new member is as good, or all those things. They decided that this was worth more, that they had something to say and something they wanted to achieve. That's very inspiring.
I just like to bring these things up to sort of point out that my view of the musical universe is that everything is connected. It may be in very strange ways, very tangentially, and you can find similarities and influences and stuff like that between, music produced for the sake of music, as well as music produced for part of another work, part of a movie, part of a video game, part of something else. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode is that I kind of wanted to show, like I said, just how everything is connected like that, because I think it's really neat, and I think it's really important for us to remember that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Any other thoughts on INXS before we kind of wrap up here?
Well, like I said, I hadn't really come across their path very much before, but you're kind of making me want to check them out more. Like, they seem like a very interesting band with a lot of really fun and interesting songs. Like I said, they love being on stage, clearly.
Yeah, they love performing, and, they have a great body of work. And like I said, I would say There's a greatest hits album. The one I got in 2002 is called The Best of INXS. You could find it on pretty much any online store. Streaming services should have it, and that's a great place to start for them. Where would you recommend folks start if they want to get into Perfume's music? Is there a compilation album they've put out yet, or anything like that?
They have actually a couple compilation albums. The one that they released internationally is called Love the World, and you can find that like anywhere you can buy music. I would recommend going to YouTube first and just getting on their channel, because that's where you'll find like all their music videos. And I think if you're gonna go down that rabbit hole, that's the place to start. And like some of their music videos, especially the more recent ones, are just really fun to watch for the artistic qualities and like the types of stories they try to tell, the types of technology they use, or their dancing. Like it's just a very visually stunning thing, even if maybe the type of music is not something that grabs you. They're worth looking at and taking inspiration from, because like I said, they're at the forefront of a lot of creative endeavors. So I would say just look up Perfume on YouTube and find their channel, or if you want to find them on any sort of music streaming or purchasing site, look for their Love the World compilation album.
Yeah, definitely places to start there, but yeah, both of these groups, I know INXS has produced a lot of kind of obscure stuff over the years for soundtracks and things like that you might have to do a little digging for, but there are good places to start for both of these bands. Alright, so we did take a break between the original series movies and the Advanced Generations movies. However, our next episode is not going to be movie 6. We will get to that eventually. However, the time when we're going to be recording the next episode is going to be around the time when the Magirna movie, movie 19, comes out on DVD in English, and it's probably coming out on digital around the same time. So, our plan is actually to do an episode right around then where we discuss the Japanese and English ending scenes of that movie while it's hot, I guess you could say, and current. And after that, our plan is to resume with the Advanced Generation movies, starting with movie 6, which is, of course, A Small Thing / Make-A-Wish, two sides of the same tune. So that'll be another one where we do a very different structure. But until then, Anne, thank you for coming on. Always like to share some of our musical interests across boundaries, I guess you could say.
Thank you. It was so fun to talk about it.
All right. Well, this has been Stephen Reich from the pokepress studios in Madison, Wisconsin, on the phone with Anne of Pigby Podcast.